Two men, same teacher, same texts, same philosophy. One of them became the most quoted philosopher in history. His words are still printed on the walls of boardrooms, tattooed on arms, memorized by CEOs and soldiers, and people falling apart at 2 a.m. The other one read the same books, studied the same ideas, practiced the same principles, and no one remembers his name. Why? Marcus Aurelius had a problem. Not the Germanic wars, not the plague that was killing hundreds of thousands across his empire. Not the co-emperor, who was slowly undoing everything Marcus built. His problem was simpler and more brutal than any of those. Every single day, men around him claimed to be Stoics. They quoted Epictetus at dinner. They wore philosophy like armor. They spoke about virtue and discipline and the impermanence of things. And then they went home. And they were exactly who they had always been. Marcus watched this happen for 40 years. And one night, alone with his journal, a private document he never intended anyone to read, he wrote the question that explains everything. It is the same question we need to answer today. If you have ever felt like you were doing all the right things and still going nowhere, if you have read the books and listened to the talks and still woke up the same person, Marcus Aurelius lived inside that exact frustration. And he found the answer. But it was not the answer most people expect. Let us start with what Stoicism actually promises. Not what the Instagram accounts say it promises. Not the posters with Marcus's face and a quote about discipline. What the original texts actually say. Epictetus, a slave who became the most influential Stoic teacher in the Roman world, made it very clear. The philosophy does not give you wealth. It does not give you power. It does not protect you from suffering or death or the cruelty of other people. What it gives you is this: a method for deciding what kind of person you are going to be, regardless of what happens to you. That is the promise. And it is, by any measure, a radical promise. Because most of us are completely defined by what happens to us. We are patient when things are easy and furious when they are not. We are disciplined when we feel motivated and lazy when we do not. We are generous when we have enough and anxious when we do not. Stoicism said, that is not character, that is weather, and you do not build a life on weather. Now, here is the part that history quietly buried. Thousands of people in ancient Rome read Epictetus. Thousands attended his lectures. Thousands walked away with the same notes, the same ideas, the same framework. Some of them were transformed, and some of them just had better dinner conversation. What was the difference? Historians who study this period, the late Roman Stoic era, roughly from Nero to the death of Marcus Aurelius, noticed something uncomfortable about the philosophical community. There were three types of Stoic students. The first type treated Stoicism as identity. They identified as Stoics. They dressed simply to signal virtue. They quoted the texts fluently. They could win any argument about philosophy in any salon in Rome. And when Nero started executing Stoics, which he did enthusiastically, many of them recanted. Quietly, quickly. They had built their whole self around the image of being a Stoic. When the image became dangerous, they chose survival over the image. They had confused wearing the philosophy with being it. The second type treated Stoicism as therapy. They came to the texts broken. Grief, failure, exile, financial ruin. Stoicism gave them a framework for surviving the immediate catastrophe. They found the passage about accepting what you cannot control, and it helped them breathe again. And then, the crisis passed. And so did the philosophy. Seneca, one of the most brilliant and contradictory figures in Stoic history, described these people with devastating clarity. He said they were like men who fall in love with philosophy in a thunderstorm and forget about it the moment the sun comes out. The third type, the rarest type, did something that looked almost identical from the outside, but was completely different from the inside. They didn't use the philosophy to manage their situation. They used the philosophy to become someone who did not need managing. This is the distinction that changed everything. Let us make this concrete. Two men study, Epictetus. Both of them are struggling with anger, short fuse, saying things they regret, damaging their relationships. The first man reads, "Some things are in our control and some are not." He takes this in. He practices breathing before he reacts. He counts to 10. He reminds himself of the quote when he feels the anger rising. And it works when he remembers to do it. The second man reads the same passage. But he does not ask himself, "How do I apply this right now?" He asks, "Why do I have this problem at all? What does my anger tell me about what I actually believe? What would I have to change, not in my behavior, but in my assumptions about the world, to not be an angry person?" He is not trying to manage the anger. He is investigating himself. Months later, the first man is still counting to 10, still working hard to remember the technique in the moment, still failing half the time. The second man rarely gets angry anymore, not because he suppressed it, because the thing that was generating the anger, a set of deeply held beliefs about what he deserved, what others owed him, what the world should look like, those beliefs quietly changed. He used the philosophy as a mirror. The other man used it as a fire extinguisher. Both are useful. One of them changes who you are. This is where Marcus Aurelius becomes essential. He was Roman emperor for 19 years. He had more access to wealth, power, pleasure, and distraction than any human being alive. He could have done anything. He could have been anyone. He chose to spend years of his life writing a private journal that no one was supposed to read. And in that journal, which we call Meditations, he does something that scholars still find almost shocking. He is not confident. He is not handing down wisdom from above. He is not explaining Stoicism to future generations. He is arguing with himself, catching himself, failing, noting the failure, starting again, over and over and over. He writes, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And then, in the same book, he writes, "Why is it so hard to get out of bed in the morning? Why do I still react with frustration when people let me down? Why haven't I fixed this yet?" Most people who quote Marcus Aurelius quote the first part. Very few people quote the second part. But the second part is the most important part, because what it reveals is this. Marcus was not practicing Stoicism because he had already mastered it. He was practicing it because he had not. Every day, in private, without an audience, without credit, without stopping to ask whether it was working fast enough. This is the thing that died-forgotten Stoics did not do. They practiced publicly. They practiced for results. They practiced until the first obstacle, the first real cost, the first moment when philosophy required them to give something up that they actually wanted to keep. And then they stopped. There is a moment in Epictetus's lectures that his student Arian thought was important enough to write down. Epictetus is talking about what separates the person who transforms from the person who merely learns. He says, "When you walk out of here, you will forget most of what I said. That is fine. But if you walk out of here asking, 'What does this mean for how I live my life?' not just today, but every day, permanently, then something has happened to you. And if you walk out asking, "What should I say at dinner to show people I was here?" then nothing has happened to you. You have only collected ammunition for arguments. He called the second type the philosophical tourist, visiting the ideas without living in them. 2,000 years later, nothing has changed. The philosophical tourist buys the book and puts it on the shelf where people can see it. They share the quote on a bad day and forget about it on a good day. They agree with every principle of Stoicism and make no permanent change to how they behave in private. The Stoics, who were remembered, who changed the world, who built the lives that historians still write about. They did something brutally simple. They applied it where no one was watching. In the private conversation, in the moment of temptation where no one would ever know, in the choice that cost them something real. Seneca, for all his contradictions, and he had many, said it plainly. Philosophy is not a performance. It is not what you say at dinner. It is what you do at midnight, when there is no applause, and no audience, and no one is keeping score except you. Now, here is the part that is hardest to hear. The Stoics who died forgotten were not unintelligent. They were not lazy. Many of them were genuinely devoted to the philosophy. They failed for one reason. They used the philosophy to justify who they already were, instead of using it to discover who they were not yet. This is subtle, and it is devastating. Stoicism teaches acceptance of what you cannot control. Some people use this to build genuine peace. Other people use it as permission to not try harder. The words are the same. The direction is completely opposite. Stoicism teaches that externals do not matter und rule. Only virtue matters. Some people use this to develop actual courage. Other people use it to avoid admitting that their external results are a reflection of their internal choices. The words are the same. The direction is completely opposite. The philosophy becomes what the person brings to it. And this is why Marcus Aurelius spent decades writing in private. Not because he was uncertain about the philosophy, because he was uncertain about himself. He knew that the easiest thing in the world was to read about virtue and feel virtuous. He had seen it 1,000 times. He refused to let that happen to him. He was paranoid about it. Every entry in Meditations is Marcus catching himself in the act of being comfortable with his own limitations, catching himself accepting the gap between what he knew and what he did. And every entry is him refusing to close the book and call himself a Stoic because of what he knew. He did not consider himself a Stoic. He considered himself someone trying to become one. That distinction kept him honest for 40 years. Let us bring this to the question that actually matters. You are reading about Stoicism, or listening to it, or watching a video about it at some point in your week, which is fine, better than fine. The ideas are real. But which type are you? Are you collecting the philosophy, accumulating it, displaying it, using it to explain your problems in sophisticated terms, feeling slightly better about yourself for having engaged with it? Or are you letting it do the uncomfortable work? Because the uncomfortable work is specific. It is not vague. It is not philosophical. It is this. Pick one thing you have been avoiding that you know you should not be avoiding. Not the thing that is hard because of external circumstances. The thing that is hard because of something in you. The belief you are protecting. The comfort you are choosing. The story you keep telling yourself about why this particular thing is different. Apply the philosophy there. Specifically, not where it is easy. There, the Stoics who became great did not have better access to the ideas. They had a different relationship to the distance between knowing and doing. They hated that distance, and they spent their entire lives trying to close it, one decision at a time, in private, without applause, without guarantee. Marcus Aurelius died in 180 AD. His private journal, written to no one, intended for no one, survived 2,000 years. The men around him who performed philosophy loudly, who lectured at dinner parties, who built their identity around being Stoics, without ever using Stoicism to do the hard work on themselves. You could spend your whole life searching for their names. The philosophy was identical. The application was everything. What you do next, not what you know, not what you believe, not what you say, is the only answer to the question this video opened. And here is what Marcus Aurelius himself would add. He would not tell you what to do. He would ask you quietly, in the way he asked himself every morning in the dark, what is the thing you already know you should do? And still not doing. That gap, that specific gap, that is where the real philosophy begins. And if you want to know what happened the day Marcus Aurelius finally answered that question for himself, the morning ritual that became the most studied habit in Stoic history, that story is in the next video. Subscribe, because that one does not start where you think it does.